Yes.
Yes, right?
Versus
Yes.
having to wait to a new budget year
That's
because
correct.
it's an unbudgeted
But
number.
if you stop and think about that, the pre-development incentive line, that's 2.4 million. $400,000 is recommending that we put into our redevelopment fund, that there's not much left. Then there's, that leaves $2 million. And then there's a $700,000 CIP reserve, $2.7 million, which if we should have to buy some property, that was $2.7 million, it would be there.
Right.
If we don't have to buy that, then it's still in reserve, available for incentive.
Right. And then in future years, you could add to it.
Yeah. But it definitely gives you the flexibility to react to opportunities during the year, mid-year, because obviously the developer comes to you November the 1st, he's not going to wait 10 months to come back and say, you know, I have this opportunity.
Now do you have money?
And yeah, so that we need to be able to react quickly to that. The stop loss reserve of $350,000, we talked to you before in our insurance fund that we purchased a stop loss policy that covers employees beyond $100,000 of claims. But when we have particularly sick people, they will have an added deductible on that. And so we're asking for $350,000 to fund those deductibles that may exceed the $100,000 limit. And then there's a transportation consultant for $120,000. I'll let Gary elaborate on. And then relocation services, replenishing. We try to maintain a $200,000 balance, and we need $100,000 to replenish that. And then I believe, Gary, that these are our other funds, and then we're ready to go into tab 5. Pretty much these are the summaries that you'll find in tab 4 of our enterprise funds. Basically, these funds they bring in the revenue, they pay for their operations. And you're going to see in all of these, there's very, very small changes in all of these funds other than Arbor Days. We are asking in Texas Star, if you look in that far right-hand column, Arbor Days, we are requesting to increase that budget from $60,000 up to $80,000. And if you notice this year, we added the kiddie attractions to try to, I think there would have been a request by the council that we try to bring Arbor Days up to a little bit better level than what we have had. And so we've been trying to add some attractions. That is being paid for from our excess reserves in the recreation class fund. And so we're asking to put more money into that. And then in the Texas Star Golf Course, the reason that looks like a large increase is we cut the expenses for the current year because we knew we'd be closed for summer, and that simply
So
restricted.
I have a bigger question. Why would we be forecasting $500,000 less income when we should be in this fiscal year? Well, I guess we'll be missing 1 month of this fiscal year. No, we'll have all of it. We'll be open all of this fiscal year, right? Yeah. Yeah, the economy.
This coming fiscal year would be open in
Right, but we're budgeting, our actual revenue in 13 was $4,009,000, and we're budgeting $4,465,000. I don't understand, that makes no sense to me.
I would have to look to see what was in that 4.9, Jackie. Were there any transfers coming into that from anything?
Because we're raising our
I know
fees.
you had transfers from hotel motel.
But that shouldn't be going down.
I would have to get the details of that. Jackie's got a very, very detailed spreadsheet of, and I have to look at the 13 actuals and see what's exactly going into that. Did we just come to you? Anyway, we'll take a look at
It
that.
includes that, I bet that 4.9 includes, at the end of the year, we have a settle up between the operating fund and the debt fund. And the debt fund transfers money back so that we can reduce the principal outstanding on the balance sheet.
I think that's going to be,
I bet that's what it is.
let us take a look at that and get you
Okay.
an answer. But the revenues, the long story short is if revenues are higher, your expenses are going to be higher. And in the enterprise funds, we were more about holding them. Their expenses have to come in under the revenue. So we don't really care if
Well, I know
they
we're
expenses
showing
as long as they
expenses
exceed the
being
revenues.
200,000 less,
Yeah.
but revenues almost 500,000, 460,000 less.
I'll have to have her look at that and we'll see what that
But I
difference
mean,
is.
if it's transfers, then okay.
I think it may be transfers, but I'll have to look at that and see. We'll get you an answer on that. And then here in our special revenue funds, those are in the hotel motel fund, that is basically restricted in what it can be used for. It's primarily for conference center operations. Juvenile case fund, that basically
What
pays.
is the status of the hotel in the airport?
They are either fixing to break ground or they've already broken ground.
But it's not,
Oh, no, I think they broke ground.
I think it's broken ground to
Maybe in May.
yeah, I believe
It was this
it's
summer.
under construction. Yeah.
Juvenile case fund, that is, pays for a court clerk, that is paid for from a $5 fee on the citations. EDC, that obviously that detailed budget will come before the EDC board and the members of the council that serves on that board. There's increases in there obviously for the pay plan. There's also some increases there for the aquatic center operation. And there is one park field tech position in that. And then CCPD budget you've already seen. The police seized assets we've already talked about. That is 3 officers. And then there's a $60,000 capital request that will cover. Police drug funds, we don't budget those because that is from seizures. Police, public safety special revenue, that is grant funds, and that's basically just budgeting to cover our portion. That's when the state provides grant money to do selective traffic enforcement, such as speed or DUI or whatever their enforcement action might be targeted towards. We've covered the car rental fund already. Buddy Park PID, that is simply the assessment that we believe that will be necessary to cover the shortfall in that debt. And the TERS we've already talked about, that is simply the increment that is deposited into that fund to pay the debt. And then the cable pay fee is a 1% assessment that is given for the purpose of government channels and government publications, and the revenues are projected at $120,000, expenses at $120,000 to allow us to do some equipment upgrades there. Internal service funds, we've talked about the equipment replacement fund. It receives the depreciation revenue in. There's a schedule there in tab 5 that shows you the equipment that needs to be purchased. That's $1.4 million of equipment that's detailed there in tab 5. Insurance fund, you can see that the expenditure has continued to grow, 15% increase that we're looking at in our insurance fund. We don't really see any relief in sight there. And then the risk work comp, that is our premiums to TML for our property liability, work comp, law enforcement liability, all of that is covered by, and that's a program charged to the water and sewer and general fund. Let's see. And I believe that we're ready for the capital items there, and Jackie, you're saying that was a transfer in from the golf course CIP of $530,000, and that was for the debt? That was, okay. So that's the answer to your question, then, Mr. Stanford, is that $530,000 that was transferred from golf course CIP?
Okay.
and really in the summer, there's not a lot of profit.
Well, I understand that, but I was talking about the difference in one full year, 13, full year, 15. Yeah,
Okay. Most of this tab 5 you're saying, we'll go through it rather quickly. The top part there, if you look at page 5.1, 5-1, one thing you're not seeing is transportation consultant that we're recommending at $120,000. We'll give you more of a description of the Highway 183 project on Saturday. What this is the concern that we've had for quite some time. It is concerning me a great deal right now. The segment 2E, there's no longer called that. From 121 all the way to 35E is that is a Dallas district project now. All the rest of it was the Fort Worth district. We have no contact with the Dallas district, never have. We've had no business with them. I've had a growing concern that we were going to be swallowed up by Dallas, primarily Irving, and the other entities, and we would just kind of be lost. seeing some of that, and they would argue that's not the case. But what we've been told most recently is that that project, it's conditionally awarded right now, but the final award is not made. But what they're now telling, that's a design-build project. They're now telling us that that would start with the managed lanes on the 114. And that our portion would kick off in the 10-month range. And the start of the project was going to be late this year, and now they're saying early next year. And then 10 months later, roughly, they would start over here. They're also telling us that the scope has been reduced a little bit. We don't know the details. Our concern is we believe we'll get the lanes that we're supposed to get. I'm not sure about the service roads right now. But our concern is our property owners that have, it's kind of ugly to say this, but in my mind, they've been somewhat held hostage for several years now. Because they, in some cases, they've come out and they've marked on their property where the right-of-way line is going to be, but they've not taken it. They're in the early stages of that now. So our thought, and I just say my thought on this, is we need to get someone that is a substantial influence to look out for our interests and our property owners' interests. The mayor and I met recently with David Dean, and I don't know if y'all know David. David used to be the Secretary of State years ago. He's had a consulting firm for years. He's an attorney in Dallas. Dean International is the name of his company. We have worked with David for years and years and years, going back to when 360 was built. Because there was a huge amount of political pressure up there to get 360. You remember, that was service roads. It was actually nothing for a long time. Then they built service roads, and the effort was to get them to build main lanes. Well, through what seemed like a miracle at the time, all of a sudden the money was found for those main lanes. President Bush first came and proclaimed the funding for that out of Mid-Cities and 360 one year. David was a key part in that. I believe that David could help us. The other thing that David works with is the high-speed road. And I know lots of people think that is pie in the sky, and it may very well be, but there is a general belief that high-speed rail will come to North Texas. There's an effort to bring it to South Dallas. There's an effort to bring it to DFW Airport. If there is whatever little kind of chance there is to bring that to DFW Airport, it would be a wonderful thing for the city of Euless. If it would come on the airport, just right off 360, it would be even better. Right now, we are getting no commercial interest whatsoever in that 360 183 corridor. As you can see, residential development is booming, but there is not one single inquiry from a commercial standpoint. So that's what that $120,000 is. I tried to get David down on his price. He will not come down. $10,000 a month is his minimum fee. He has no clients for less than that. The last time I talked with him, he said, I will do this. If they want to hire me, I will work for 14 months. In fact, our budget doesn't start until October. He would agree to, if y'all have come to consensus tonight that you want to do this, he would agree to begin work immediately on the promise of a contract in October. So we would get August and September for free.
So you did effectively reduce the cost price.
So we've never been much on consultants. We've never been much on lobbyists. He is a registered lobbyist. Tell you that straight up. But David is one that I think is high profile enough that he can represent us. They're at every transportation committee meeting in Austin. They're now holding those meetings all over the state, and they would get everyone. It's $120,000 plus $24,000 in expenses. We would hold the expenses down, but We do not have the staff
Right.
to.
Or the expertise.
Or the expertise. I don't, I don't have the time, nor does Hal or anyone else, nor the high profile enough to go to every transportation meeting. Sure.
What's your expectation?
What is my expectation? My expectation is that we expedite the right-of-way acquisition, which is critical. We talked to you about the cool zone down there. That is critical. The Manchester apartments, they would like to do something that would be rather significant to create a commercial zone in front of their property. First Baptist Church, First Methodist Church is the greatest in fact. But all of the, you take McDonald's, all of our fast food restaurants, they don't know what to do because they know they got to move. Some of them it's full takes, but they don't know when. And so we thought originally that help was on the way. Well, now if construction moves 10 months, that tells you that probably the acquisition will move some part of that 10 months because they don't even know exactly what they're building because of the design build component of this. So
And what Jerry and I talked, basically what it boils down to is that we're not even minnows in this pond, and we need somebody that's got a little bit of muscle.
I mean, sharp.
So
That's it, money well spent.
that's what I think. So that's that.
I thought it was gonna be a driver for Linda, but okay.
No, that's Jerry.
Special development incentive for special projects, we've discussed that. That would sit there until it is needed for an incentive for the project that we've been talking with you about. The $1.271 million that we talked with you about, that is largely that same project. And then what was that?
Design and engineering, design of engineering building, Glade Parks Trail for $357,000. The municipal plaza for the $100,000, that y'all asked us to expedite the phase 1 of that. And then monument signs was $20,000.
Transfer to redevelopment, $400,000. You're aware that we have used that over a period of time. We've not added to it. There is, we need to add to that because of the great opportunity out there. The real estate prices continue to increase.
Quick comment on the monument signs. I keep going back to our signage, what Hearst has done. I like what they've done. It's good for their city. And they haven't got any pushback from TxDOT for their signage up and down Highway 10. I don't see why we don't do it.
And we've got Euless Pride money that's been there for, we're looking at that.
Okay.
One point real quickly on monument sign. When the project that I talked about a while ago is going to be the Peyton and the Trig and the Nail Street. That has a place for a monument sign in it. It's in Atmos right away. And Atmos is now telling us they're not going to allow us to build a monument sign. So we're going to continue to argue with them, but at the end of the day, it's their easement. So we may lose that argument. So that's looming out there. Let's see. That's stop loss reserve. We discussed about that. The relocation services. You may say, well, she said we need to add to that. We haven't relocated anyone. The incentive agreement that y'all adopted at your last meeting with the special meeting with Mr. Collins, a part of that payment will come from relocation because that was a mid-year, which is the reason we need that money in there. Then we'll take $100,000 from relocation that exists now. This $100,000 will replace that. The other $150,000 came from the well company.
We had in baseline, that was for the rebate that was over earned on it.
Yeah, that was from another project. That payment will probably come just in the next few days. He signed the agreement, that's true. Today, did you sign that? I guess it's still in my way, got it. It's our common group. So that project is continuing, and we'll cover that in much greater detail Saturday. That will be a closed session discussion on incentives. That part of it is public because it was voted on. Okay, let's get down here to transfer to drainage CIP. That is just the replacement of the drainage funds to cover the drainage, miscellaneous drainage projects that we talked with CIP meeting. Then we get into the pure capital items that we discussed with you, the directors discussed with you in that first meeting. Part-time detention PSO program, part-time dispatch and control equipment, that's all in crime control and prevention district. Budget, those are capital items that have been approved by CCPD board, and you'll have a public hearing on that and a vote on it at, I guess, your first meeting in August. The mental health liaison, that is the joint project with Hearst and Bedford. That is a supplemental project in CCPD. And then most of this other stuff, we have recommended funding. It's rather unusual. The library document station, Sherry talked with you about that. The hardware software replacement, Scott talked with you about that. That's the portion that can be attributed to the EDC. South Euless Park upgrades, that is for the demolition of South Euless Pool, as well as some enhancement of shade structure or something down there. The demolition is estimated about $45,000, so there's not really much left there to enhance it, but we will to the extent we can. Facility rental payment, that is to lease a portion of the Star Center that we talked with you about, and we'll be talking to EDC about that. Then what Mr. Fordfield has recommended is reflected on there as far as what do you do about the pools. And that's, so there's a bus budgeted in there, $80,000. There's a bus driver. You got a bus, you got to have a driver. So that's a part-time employee. It's an hourly amount and a guesstimate of how much we might run that. And our expectation is that, that I don't think many people will ride it, but I think it's a great gesture. And what hours we have available that's not being used during the summer for that, we use it for senior trips because we currently sell out those more seats than we have already for the senior trips. None of us in here is old enough to take those, so we wouldn't know about it. All those are recommended for approval. You get down to the park improvements. That, someone asked me about that. Are we not going to improve the parks? You may recall that when we first put that in, that was in the anticipation that we may have to do some enhancements to a facility that we're not going to have to do, that being the Star Center. We're not going to have to do that, so that's now 2. We don't recommend it. The free school iPad immersion was $10,000. We don't recommend that. I think Sherry thinks that she will get that through grant funding. And if she doesn't, then we will try to provide that in some shape, form, or fashion. Sir?
Has the rec come back with you with some vision on J. Park? I know you challenged with that, but
Not any specifics yet. I mean, that's
Okay.
the challenges out there. But that's and it's not just J. Carr. I mean, it's several.
All of them.
Fairway Park is the
Yeah,
example.
okay.
It's two. But that would be working towards that. I mean, we can do some of it sooner, but towards that 2016, 2017 time. So it's not.
Okay. All right.
I don't want you to think that he's behind and giving.
Oh, no, I wasn't.
It's a long-term challenge.
I just knew you had that. I mean, if we had that as a 2, we could probably put that as an A project for next year and supplement that J. Park on his vision, if he has any thoughts on that.
We will get 2, somebody will. Library mobile app, we're not recommending that. Quite honestly, it may be good because I don't understand it well enough, but that's the app to build an app to go on your telephone. I think somebody will develop the app themselves. Now, another one that I don't understand, but I'm scared of him. Laserfish document management system, public portal. I could not begin to tell you what it is, but Kim tells me it's very
It's hard to
important.
fish with a laser.
Yeah. So, no, that is critical to our operation. We recommend that. HR needs a printer, career prep program at Trinity High School. I'm excited about that. That is in there at my request. That's the old BOE program that I think we probably should have been doing for a long time. We'll evaluate it this year. It's a one-time request. It's not a supplemental. We'll see.
Do we think that's going to be enough? I mean, to actually get that seed planted for that program?
That's like a lot of other things, Mr. Bynum. They tell me it is, and I gotta
Okay.
trust what they say, because Carolyn has worked with the coordinator at Trinity, and of course, it's only for like 9 months.
Right.
And so, and it's half a day. So, and she says that's what she needs. And I asked her to go seek it out. She did, it's what she says she needs.
Okay.
Hardware, software replacement, Scott talked with you at length about that. The Court Technology hardware, software that is paid from the Court Technology Fund, which is shown as a general fund, but it's a dedicated fee within the general fund. I could go on and on about the virtual server, but I think it's critical.
Would you tell us all about that?
The hour is late. But it really is. I think you told me that they already have one in the police department.
Yeah.
They will mirror each other, and so we'll get additional backup and time. The centralized security camera system is really important. We have funded those for several, not the centralized camera systems. This will all be centralized, and over time, there'll be a network built that y'all will not understand it if I try to explain it to you. Wi-Fi network, and ultimately we'll have several operations that will run off this. We're fixing to buy a SCADA system that's been funded for quite some time. It will run off of it. But like our water system is critical to our operation, and ultimately our meter reading will be done off of that as
It'd be
well.
nice that Hal will be able to tell us how much water he actually has in storage, huh?
So that is important for us. Carpet replacement at the police and court says ongoing. That building is now coming up on about 15 years of service. It's first time carpet. This is obviously just a portion of it. So that's critical. The HVAC package unit replacement, that's year 3 of 3. I kind of hate to see those put on there as those years 3 of 3 because that ain't all of them. There'll be another 3, more probably 3. Ultimately, although some of them are on our maintenance system now, where the maintenance company replaces them. The gate control motor replacement for the police and courts building, that's the same thing. That's 15-year-old stuff that will be replaced. Breaking down all the time.
They're always working.
Poor old Kyle, he has asked for these waste oil heaters, and quite honestly, I said I'm tired of hearing about it.
But I did check with Ray, and Ray said he really would like having it if it's cold.
Yeah.
And
So
so he said yes,
it's
if
a
they
good
really
green
need them.
project.
And he said if it's really cold in the building, he'd like to have it.
The 3 life packs, that's only important for those that have heart attacks. Again, that's a base 3 of 3. It's not that big a deal unless you're dying, in which case it's critical. So $123,000.
Do the existing one, what, I mean,
They hit the end of life.
but they never been used. How do you get end of life when you've never been used?
Really?
Well, yeah, but there are some that I guarantee you, not all of those have been used. We haven't had heart attacks everywhere we have
But
them.
they don't use it as
No.
a part of
This
They
is
use
not
it.
This is not the AED.
Oh, okay, this is the ones that just sit here. This is the one from the fire department.
Yeah.
Okay.
never use them.
That's what it's like.
You go to the ice cream shop.
Yeah, I'm not-
It says life
The
back,
life
life back
packs are pretty
15.
expensive.
All right.
The AEDs are about $1,500.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
These are a
most
little
of
bit better
them,
than
you're
those.
right. Although we're not replacing them, we're replacing batteries.
Okay.
They don't-
All right, I'm good.
Settle down, settle down.
You might need one.
Okay, the hour's getting late.
Right. The stretchers, they're very important as well.
Back in group.
Miscellaneous fire equipment, we strongly recommend the treadmill. The dumbbells at the County Life Center are wore smooth out. We recommend that they be funded. That is an ongoing, if you go up there, particularly in the mornings and evenings, that place is busting.
How do you wear out dumbbells?
Sir?
How do you wear out dumbbells?
They're plastic coated and they're,
You drop them enough times, they crack.
some of them are plastic, not all of them, and some of this is additional. Resurfacing the floors we've got to do, we do that every few years, there's a full resurface for those floors. The fire station number 2, I'm kind of proud of this. This is $38,500 project. That started out being a huge project. It was basically a total remodel, and we brought that down to $38,500 to do what needs to be done and put that remodel off for quite some time, for several years actually. The parking lot light replacement, $28,000. We recommend that. That will bring us more light at a lower cost there. The diesel extraction. This is really have them in some of our signals right now, but you just think of there's a UPS system in 157 Highway 10 intersection. It takes at least 2 people to direct traffic there, and the signal goes down when the power is lost. So that UPS system keeps that signal working. We've got like 2 or 3 on Highway 10. We will continue to add to those. Also, the officers are not there, and then the power goes off, and so you've got significant risk with no power in the
Does
intersection.
the state have some responsibility for that?
Not any longer. Remember, when we hit 50,000, we had to take, the only ones the state has responsibility for now are the ones along the freeway. Every other state highway, we have responsibility for. Contract inspector for capital improvement projects, that's the exact same thing, but in a different department, is the inspector, is the plan review. This is for how the engineering group to do the inspections of the streets and utilities. That again is another spike that we're experiencing due to growth that won't be needing long term. The 2 towable message boards, he talked with you about that. We feel that's really important. The EMS compression and shift overtime. Common thinking on employees is you don't pay overtime. In the fire department, it's a little bit different in that this wouldn't even pay 1 firefighter. Typically, if you hire 1, you got to hire 3, but this allows us to pay overtime in specific places where we need it to run that squad thing a little bit more. And so we believe we could do this for 2 or 3 years. Ultimately, we need to add 3 more firefighters. And I think 3 would probably hold us, but it's a crazy thing about firemen. They'll tell you, we don't want to give us 3 or 9, right?
That's true.
So at some point in time, we'll recommend 3 to you, not this year, but this will.
And I'll still say it, I've been saying it for 7 years, we need to double company that station up there. And I know I'm falling on deaf ears.
Well, it would not hurt, but at some different time, we'll bring you a much greater report on this, but they're not overworked. Their workload is not too taxing. I mean, they stay busy, but as we grow, we do need to, but not today. Let's see, masonry screening walls, we recommend funding for that. City's match for Tarrant County Home CPR, can't imagine a better program than that. Street overlay, we've got to continue to do. You'll hear Saturday that we're doing pretty good. We need to hooch that up. Red, I told you earlier, we put some in baseline. We need to continue to hooch that up, probably from about where we are now, up about $200,000 in the town.
Coleman, that's our last street, that doesn't have curb and gutter?
No, we've got several more, but it's the last one that.
Oh, I'm not talking about Hines and Byers and nothing there, is that what you're talking about?
We got
We got
Vine,
a few of
Crest
them.
Haven, Alexander.
Okay.
Some of them we may never be in
Okay.
that. The radio lease payment, that's the last year. Remote traffic signal controller, we're not recommending funding for that, but I do want to call that out to you. That is something that we really need to do, not this year, but in a future year. Hopefully, when this network is built, the Wi-Fi network, or is that, what do you call it? Wi-Fi?
Well, 4G network, yeah.
4G? A 3G wouldn't do it, but a 4G, you could get a 4G network. Now, I think that would bring the price of that down, but all those traffic signals are computer controlled. The technician can repair some of those remotely if they have access to them. And we can change them. We can change the timing during let's say a Rangers game or a Cowboys game. It helps that every city ultimately is going to have this remote traffic.
So you can pre-program for increased traffic times to increase the length.
You could do pretty much whatever you wanted to do on it.
Especially Highway 10. Highway 10 is getting ridiculous.
If you have an accident,
Yeah,
if you had a gas leak
yeah.
west of 157 on Highway 10, you could stop that signal where no one else got to it.
Is $316,000, though, that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money, and we believe it'll come down once we get the network in. So I just lifted up to you the future need. That generator replacement across the way here at Fire Admin, it will need to be replaced in future years. It doesn't need to be replaced this year. Part-time police officer from municipal court, and that is it. That is a lot of capital this year. We're very, very fortunate. We're, in fact, we probably are. That's a lot of capital this year, but there's a lot of deferred need that we're trying to meet. And I think every bit of this is very, very important, so we recommend that.
I think one of the nice things to look at this book and see some of the rankings of the requests and to see that they've been moved up and how many things we're able to fund this year that we haven't been for the past several years.
That we're asking for it.
That we've been, yeah, it's so nice to look at this budget.
Every bit of this is paid for. There's not a borrowed dime in it, other than where we lifted it up. We'll talk more about it Saturday, but there is the debt issues would be the TERS that Loretta talked in Bay Park.
And that's something we actually, as a council, voted on.
Yeah.
It is.
Several
It is.
years
And but then the other is, we'll talk with you about it late, Saturday, is the meter replacement program that there's pending grant applications, pending with the Texas Water Development Board that will be low interest funding. But we anticipate hearing on that. But whether we get it or not, the meters have to.
Got to do it, yeah.
Yep.
So, we went long in that, we went.
There was one more page.
Was there another thing?
Now, you say,
That goes,
that's all supplemental stuff.
that's the end of, I'm sorry, there is.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Already.
Excuse me. Excuse me. That's the secret. The part-time building technician, we talked with you about that, that's the top. That guy's actually already here. We've been funding it one time. That is just picking that up. The full-time PSO, we do not recommend. However, they, in effect, get the guy because the secretary, the lady that is serving as Mike Brown's semi-secretary right now is actually a records clerk. And so when he hires his secretary, she goes back down, there's a domino effect. They pick up the PSO. I do want to mention one thing too, and we can talk about this Saturday. The full-time special events and marketing coordinator that Ray had asked for is $72,000. We don't have the money to do that. However, there's a very talented young lady in our organization that I'm trying to keep here that there is, in your fund balance summary, there's $50-something thousand, $58,000, supplement. I'm going to pitch this thought to you, we'll talk about it more Saturday, but that would pay for about 8 months' salary. And what I've got in mind is using this lady to serve part-time Texas Star. Texas Star would continue to pay her salary. Part-time, when I say part-time, I mean split the time. She's a full-time employee for rating to special events coordination. And then with the balance of the salary of Texas Star, we would hire someone off the workforce to come in and do the nighttime work. And I'm not going to call her name because I would embarrass her, but you probably know what I'm talking about. She helped us with our dinner night. She works herself to death.
Yeah.
And she is one of those people, I think she could be the city manager here 20 years from now. Not trying to take anybody else's place, but she's extremely talented. We need to keep her here, and I think to get her in a position that she could do a good job for Ray, and but cut her hours some. A young person can't have a family in the conditions that Then the Public Works Clerk, I'd love to fund that for Hal, but we just can't. So I'm not recommending that. The Council Chambers Technology Upgrade. We are recommending a technology package to upgrade things in the City Council Chamber. It would include several things. The new screen, it would be LED screen. Instead of this, what else is that, Chris?
The displays at the dice,
What?
the displays at the
Yeah,
dice.
there would be a screen in front of each council member. It would enhance the technology in there, allow other things to occur at some point in the future if anyone wanted to occur, but it would just be an overall technology upgrade that we strongly recommend funding. Arbor Days, we talked about the recreation playbook printing material, that's a capital, that's to enhance that playbook and we would use a portion of that. That's the book that the Parks Department puts out for the classes. We'd use a portion of it to expand it a little bit to cover the Euless today. That obviously only comes out now in smaller version once a month. This would help us to expand some of those articles. Part-time program coordinator, we don't recommend. Part-time cadet, that is the $60,000 that is in capital that would come from the city's asset fund that I mentioned earlier. These other jobs, we don't recommend the full-time workers, clerk. Fuel contingency, we do need with the fuel costs, what they are, we don't know what they'll be. Sewer TV camera, hardware, software replacement, these are all out of water, wastewater. The masonry screening wall, that's the other half of the project I mentioned a while ago. Water line protection program, that's $40,000 that you've probably not seen that. I don't think that was in the book before, was it?
I think how possible.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we did
okay.
talk
I
about
thought we
that.
added that. That's, we've come to feel more close to that project because we believe the Cinnamon water leak showed us that we can have water leaks of some substance that we don't even know about. This would be to try to, rather than, we've got some equipment we can do it with, but this would be to hire someone to do a broad-based look quickly, because it doesn't take much water to make up $40,000. So we believe that would be money well spent. The transfer to wastewater and wastewater, $200,000. We'll talk with you more about that Saturday. That is to rehab the Fuller well. That right there will not totally pay for it. We use some of the miscellaneous well repair money to supplement it with. We've got a report from the well consultant to give you Saturday, but the bottom line is that well needs some rehab work, and this would be basically sleeving it. For those of us that are old enough to know what sleeving is,
My
putting
son,
in case.
he'll work on our issue too, the other issues that we have associated with those wells, long term.
The taste,
No, just overall well, our vision.
yes, we're gonna talk with you about
Okay.
to better quantify what we can and should do
Okay.
with that well, but this is something that if we're gonna continue to operate, and we recommend that you do, that we need to do. It actually would be about $350,000 total to rehab that well. It's about $2 million to build a new well. Then that shop air compressor, we recommend buying that, hotel lighting, conference center lighting, we recommend. Special legal fund, we do not need this year, nor the retirements we need. I think. And with that, that is it. Y'all look that over in the next few days. If you have any questions, Saturday, we'll come back to it. I know it's late, we went through that more quickly than we should have, but you've heard it all before, exception of the first few. And we'll move forward Saturday with our tours early, and our IMS presentation, and then we'll be plenty of time to discuss what it was left here. If you have any questions in the meantime, we'll have to call Brother Iron and talk about it. I don't think there's any outstanding questions. We've got a question about the golf course.
Yes, they already answered that.
The what?
They already answered that.
Yeah. And so I don't think there's any other questions.
hard and
I'm proud of you.
We're able to get more
Very
done and
proud.
actually
Thank
get tax
you so
rate down a
much.
little bit.
Yep.
I'm very, very proud of these ladies over here and work that they've done. And actually do a job for, correct? There's lots of work goes into this.
Gary, if I can elaborate on that, just a second. I don't know that it's possible to explain the number of hours that Jackie and Jimmy, and I'm sure the staff too, but just the hours that they put in, it was not unusual for me to get voicemail or emails at 2 o'clock in the morning on Saturdays and Sundays and all kind of nights and weekends, so.
That's when they're coming from the bar.
Yeah. But it really is, has been an incredible amount of work that they've put into this over the past several weeks and
Well, it
months.
shows it.
Yeah.
Yes, it does show. Thank you.
Well, don't let us wind up Saturday without everybody having any questions answered. And before we'll start us off this evening, I think there are no young questions, and they're absolutely not hard as anything. I forgot that page there, I was joking, it showed the secret stuff, but it shows whatever you want to see.
The mobile signs from the public works guys, did they paint those white, kind of, in our normal white and blue letters and all that fun stuff, or would they come yellow?
Well, they're primarily lines. I mean, it's
Yeah,
just-
but the casing around, the
Casing,
lighting and all that
I
stuff.
don't know.
It'd be nice if they were just like a Euless color, kind of like our
Aren't
Sky
they
Tower.
black now?
I just know them as the highway safety signs.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's,
And they're all yellow, when you see those, or orange.
would it be worth paying extra for them? Normally we just.
We gotta raise the tax rate now.
It's like, police cars.
White signs.
Red fire trucks.
Chairman, is Bill, Chairman, this way.
There's probably some code that says they have to be yellow, so people won't ride into them.
They're right there, well,
They're driving a big red fire truck, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I had a lady walk into a yellow forklift that wasn't moving and tried to sue us. And one thing, it was just sitting there by the garbage shop. Not before, not before there was that such thing text. She was just, she dumped the lid.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. We are adjourned.